edition of DSI Live. I'm your host, Vanessa Emerson, founder of Dental Speaker Institute and Dental Speakers Bureau. And I am so excited to be here today with our colleague and friend, Claire Jeong. Hi, Claire.
Hi, thanks for having me, Vanessa, today.
Welcome, and thank you so much. Sorry, my phone rang and I'm like, oh, I forgot to.
Oh, no, I thought that was actually the intro music. I was like, she prepared also like professional music. DSI Live.
Well, we're here today to bring a topic that's I think, super interesting and fun, and to bring valuable, helpful information to our colleagues while we're all in this kind of like period of the COVID limbo as we wait to see how things roll out. No better time to be working on our materials and on our skills as speakers. So I've invited Claire to join me for this session. For those of you who don't know Claire, she was at Jumpstart this year and did a showcase. And I remember you had your brain on, not your brain, but a brain on the stage with her. And she is an entrepreneur extraordinaire, I would say. I'm so impressed with all the different things she has started in the industry, all the different wonderful, helpful educational options we'll talk about. She's an author, of course, an educator, a researcher, and an international speaker. Now, Claire is founder of Student RDH and Smarter DA, which are dental hygiene and assisting exam prep solutions, both online, right, Claire?
Yes.
And Dental Toaster, which is an online CE platform. In addition, I think a really pertinent and fun fact about Claire is that she's the 2019 Ontario Memory Champion. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell us, what does that mean? What's a memory champion?
So there's a bunch of us geeks, or we call ourselves memorizers or memory athletes, actually. And you get together, it's like the spelling bee contest. Instead of spelling things, you're memorizing things. For example, you're memorizing decks of cards. You're memorizing thousands of numbers. You're memorizing hundreds of names, shapes. So different things. And your job is just to recall as correctly and as fast as possible. So it's a whole brain day activity.
I'm just making sure we're online here. Yes, and hello to Bob and Carlos. Thanks for joining us. As you guys come on, please tell us hello. Welcome, Claire, to DSI Live. And I'm kind of shaking my head a little bit going, whoa, like that really does impress me. I mean, to be able to memorize that much. And I think it's because, I'm sure I don't really know how to do that effectively. That's not something that I was ever taught in school or studied myself. So that's really, one of the main things we wanted to talk about today was what a amazing skill that could be for people like speakers.
Yeah.
We're going to stand in front of an audience for 3 hours or even 30 minutes, especially in that stressful situation, which it can feel, that would be our biggest fear, right? To get there and not remember, though it doesn't need to be our biggest fear because our audiences lean into it. But I think it's just natural for people to be fearful of that. Hit us with some tips about, what's the first tip you could share with us around helping us memorize?
Well, it's not a tip, but I want to give you a little bit of confidence, because in the beginning of our days, when we were 3 years old, 6 years old, we said A like apple. It was like a no-brainer. They taught us to say, when children don't know how to say pie, like P-I-E, because it's a difficult word, or they don't know how to do piece, so they teach pie in the beginning, and they say put that into piece, because piece is a very difficult word to actually spell, if you're not trained at that age 6 or 7. So they say piece like pie, or pie of a piece of pie, or something like that. So it was all about association back then.
Yes.
And then when they put us at school, they say good luck. They didn't do anything for us, right? They're like, we got to test you. You have to do a bunch of homework, and I expect you to be great, except that they didn't help us continue this awesome memorization technique that we had in us. So we actually have it, but we lost it. So the problem is not like we never learned it, it's like our culture actually didn't help us cultivate that. So, yeah. So, what we became is the rote memory, right? When you're trying to remember, what do? It's like repeating again and again.
Yeah.
When it's in speakers, what do? They make maybe note cards, right? Or some they try to memorize top to bottom so many times. So that's one way of doing it. But however, the problem there is that it's ineffective. It works, but we don't have a whole year to memorize this, right? So memory techniques is really a shortcut to getting to the goal that you want to. There's not just one way of doing it, but memory technique is one of them. And within memory technique, there are multiple, that we can use. But so that's why I teach at Wake Up Memory, the system that I created really condensed for what's relevant to us, because actually this is not new. So back, Vanessa, back in the days, how did they, the people had to recite the Bibles and things like that. How did they do that? They didn't, right? They couldn't write. The paper was, invented, and they had a system. So for example, they looked at the church and saying, on my left side, I see the statue, and that is going to remember me of Moses, for example. And then they have this window. That's the story of John, for example. So that's why they have all of this in church. It's a symbol, but a symbol to tell you the story, because that was the only way to memorize things back then.
So it's an association.
Yes.
That's a really good point, because I think about it. There have always been orators, there have always been speakers, but there was a point where we've got kids playing outside. It's too loud. It's a wonderful sound right now today.
Yeah.
But we didn't really have books to read and history. I hadn't really thought about that.
Yeah. So books, it's great, but then it did something to us that we externalize everything we have to memorize. Like your PowerPoint that you have when you're speaking, that externalizing your own brain, reading from your own notes. But then we actually have the potential to put it all here. We're so capable of doing that. So that's the whole point of teaching memory techniques, especially if you're going to take an exam. That's what I teach very heavily every year. About 3,000 students use our memory system to pass the examinations. And for speakers, it's really relevant because, how would you feel like, if in the middle of your speech, you froze? Yeah.
But and here's what I'd like to contrast to with we're not advocating that you write out every word and memorize every word and recite every word, because that can feel very robotic, and it feels it lacks emotion. It doesn't feel connected. I think what you're saying is similar to me seeing the statue that reminds me of this story of Moses. I could use something like that to help me remember a certain section of my speech. Am I following?
You are very correct. So what happens is that, so this goes back to, the Hamlet. Let's talk about the Hamlet for a second. How they memorize it is in chunks. So they compress this entire chunk, and they say the whole story is about, and let's say, sacrifice. So from that, they create something that represents sacrifice, because a lot of things that we talk about are very abstract. So they represented, associated in your head with something that you can recognize easily. So what's a sacrifice for you? It can be something very different for everybody, right? It could be anything. So you get that as a vessel, and then you're just going to memorize that instead of this whole speech. And that makes it a lot more fluid instead of robotic. Because if you think about each word, the audience can tell. Like the half a second you lose, they can tell you're thinking too much. You didn't prepare enough. That's the feeling that they're going to get. But that might help you be a little bit more fluid. And then you can go to the next point, because you have something else to indicate where you're going. And all of that, though, is in this. And I'm going to talk about this in our workshop and at Jumpstart as well, as this magic word. Please memorize this. It's called the Memory Palace, or the Mind Palace, however you want to call it. So what do you think of memory palace is?
I'm listening.
It's okay, it's okay. So memory palace is, having a palace literally. So your house is a palace. My apartment is a palace, So
Palace.
yeah, it's a space. And then you have stations. So those stations are the kitchen counter, the sink, the dishwasher, the plant. So in a familiar place, you have station, and those stations work as kind of containers for what you want to talk about. So actually, I had the 10-minute talk at Jumpstart this year. I kind of pushed myself. So I'm going to be in front of the audience and, everybody talk about what I love, the brain and Alzheimer's disease and how it's related to dentistry. Anyhow, and I can tell you exactly how I remembered it. And I still remember the speech only because I didn't rely on me writing it down or my slides. I still have this clear picture with a palace in my head. So it's
Mm,
visualization, it's using space because our brain has a special thing for space. So when you have been somewhere, that's why your experience is awesome because your brain loves it. So you're using all the ingredients your brain like. So
yeah.
this is how I memorize it. So I actually took the place where I went to vacation right before Christmas because that's actually cheaper than going in Christmas time. So I
Oh,
went on a vacation. It was like half the price. I'm like, I don't
good
care.
tip.
Yeah, I'm just gonna get to Cancun. So that was Mexico, right? So that resort became my palace.
Okay.
So I started in the sea because I talk about how the jellyfish attacked me and I still have scars from the jellyfish. Do you see those marks? They are actually jellyfish
Oh,
marks.
wow.
You know, and then I talk about how, yeah, I had to call, people to help me out. But anyhow, I felt great because I survived. And, I went to have 1, 2, 3, 5, or whoever, how many drinks at the pool bar. So then the pool bar became another station for me. And then I
Mm,
talk about how I actually woke up not remembering anything after a certain point, obviously because I had too many drinks. But then the next station or palace area is the bedroom, not the hotel room.
yeah.
And then the next station is the balcony. Okay, so I talk about is that how people feel when they have Alzheimer's disease because they can't remember what happened to them. They feel frustrated. So I'm saying, is that what people feel? They feel frustrated. And then I look at the balcony and I see there's a little restaurant, within the resort was all inclusive. So you have multiple restaurants. And I look at that and that building turns into a brain for me. And then
Oh,
I talk
okay.
about there are 100 billion neurons in your brain. So I look at the building, but actually what I look at is the sky and it's like the stars because
So,
that's more the number of the stars in the galaxy. So that's 100 billion neurons.
can I just jump in with, okay, so let me make sure I understand. So you're saying that you've written your speech, basically, you know what you want to talk about, you know the story. And so then as you start the memorization process, as you're going over it, so I think what you're saying is you tell the story about the jellyfish and in your mind, you're picturing the sea. Is
Yes.
that right?
Yeah.
And then as you get to the point with the bar, then you picture. So do you then just ultimately pitch as you get ready to stand up, you're thinking the sea, the bar, the bedroom, the balcony, the restaurant, like do you kind of like have that in that order in your head so that you can visualize picture, and then when you look at the bar
Yeah.
or the bed or the restaurant, that takes you back to that segment.
That's an awesome summary, Vanessa. That is an excellent question. So that's exactly what I do right before getting on the stage. In the big, it's okay. So let's take back to how I compose it. And that's exactly what I teach in the workshop. Is like we take the entire thing or your ideas, and we're going to chunk them and find something that is associated to that chunk, and then we find a memory palace that fits that scenario. It depends on what it is. Okay, it could be a museum that you love, whatever you want. And then from there, we're going to put things, association into those areas. And then when I go on the stage, I just remember the sequence. I remember just, yeah, the sea, the pool bar, the bedroom, the balcony, the building. That's all I do. So I don't have to like memorize my speech per se, but I know exactly where I'm going. So when I draw a blank, instead of just thinking what's the next word, I think about what's the next
Where
station,
am I
which is
going?
a
Yeah,
lot
yeah.
easier to remember.
Oh, exactly. I love that. That's really empowering. And I think, especially, like I'm a visual thinker. I don't know if
Uh-huh.
everybody's equally like
Mhm.
I always remember something better if I've seen it
Yeah.
in front of my face
Mhm.
or in
Yep.
my head. And so that
Yeah.
that combines those two. That's really
Mhm.
powerful. Our
Mhm.
brains are amazing, aren't
It,
they?
oh my God. It is so, I mean, we are the brain who created rockets to the moon,
Yeah.
who created pyramids. It's that same brain that has only evolved through the years to be more and more powerful.
We are the brains that
Mhm.
will beat COVID, that will come up with a vaccine,
Yes.
right? I mean, really, that's the reality, the promise
Mhm.
of today's day even is that
Mhm.
we are smarter than a protein or
Yeah.
whatever it is, right? That's awesome. I love this. You mentioned in there that, and thank you all for joining us. We have a good group that are following us along here on Facebook. If you have any questions for Claire, we want to say hi. We'd love for you to comment and tell her hello and welcome her here and welcome. Thank you for listening in. You mentioned in there about Jumpstart, and I did want to announce and share that Claire is our newest faculty member at Dental Speaker Institute. Yay! So excited about that. And she has a course that's called 4 Steps to Memorizing Your Speech, which is a workshop where you'll be able to, if you follow through our curriculum or not, as speakers, it will be available to you, speakers and consultants, both inline and in person, online,
Mhm.
live or in-person workshop that you've created for speakers and consultants to be able to help them with this. Thank you for doing that.
Oh no, well, thank you for having me here. I'm so grateful and well, I'm so excited to be a faculty just to share this message. This is empowering, well, your speech already, but in the big scheme, my favorite testimonials are I taught this to my colleagues, I taught this to my daughter. So it's not just one generation, but it can be multiple people, multiple generations, really empowering the brain. So, and I can't wait for our speakers to really just get the tools too, because the message is one thing, delivery is, I think, you need to really combine those two. So I'm just so excited, and I cannot hear from all of you what you want as well, because definitely there's so many things that we can do with the brain, and we're going to tailor that to the speakers.
Oh, I love that. And before we're done here today, we'll talk a little bit more about when those are going to be available and how they can work with you.
Mhm.
Uh, at Jumpstart in January,
Mhm.
where our unofficial motto is come hell or high water, we will be holding a meeting. The official tagline for the meeting. We'll know more about that when we see where we are on the backside of this peak. Of course, we're going to be bringing content that will really help our industry rise, reunite, rise, just a step up and step into this new day. But we are definitely still holding a meeting. We're still planning this meeting, and we've asked Claire to come and she will give us a TED Talk length presentation on the main platform on this topic as well. I'm looking forward to that. Super excited about that.
I
You
know we do. Ugh.
Tell us a little bit more about are there things that we can do, food or exercise, or like how do we live in a way that really helps us maintain our brain health and keep our ability to memorize?
Ah, that's such a fundamental question.
Yeah.
So obviously the brain is connected to the body, so we need to keep this healthy. And actually, can I show you a little bit of memorizing tip that you can use right now? It's not
Please.
like the full length of what I would like the speakers to know, because speeches are a lot more complicated. But let's think about some food, because we are what we eat at the end of the day. So I'm going to give you a list of 10 things that are going to be brain food, good for the brain, proven be good for the brain. And I'm
Awesome.
going to use a technique that you can use right now today to do your grocery list or whatever you want to wake up your brain already. Are you ready?
Yes, but can we do something fun? Can we throw out, because we've got quite a few people watching. Can
Of
can
course.
you can you guys comment? What do you think it would be? Like, let's give them a minute. Can we give them like 30 seconds to come back to this? But
I
like,
know. What are the brain foods?
would it be Diet Coke? Probably not. Would it be Doritos?
Mhm.
Probably
Yeah.
not.
You want to try guess too, Vanessa?
Yeah, I would like to throw out some guesses. I mean, I know we have some
Yeah.
superfoods, and I
Mhm,
would love for others to throw in their thoughts. We put in the comments, what do you think a
mhm.
superfood might be, or a food that would help? I mean, I thought of something like blueberries or kale, or like those things that we know are super good in eating green leafy vegetables. It always comes
Mhm,
to mind to me. Um,
mhm.
so we give them a few more minutes here to see if we can get any more comments here.
Yeah, we have kale in the comments.
Yeah, kale,
Yeah, that
exactly.
is excellent. I don't want to spill the beans, but yeah, kale's good.
Kale's on the list.
Kale's good. Kale's good in many ways, you know. I mean, it's not just for the brain, it's for the heart pressure, I mean, blood pressure and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
So give us your list. Give us
all
our
right.
10.
So I'm going to say the list without giving you the memory techniques, and we're going to try together having this system together. And let's see if it sticks a little better.
Oh,
So I'm going to tell you. So green leafy vegetables. You got that right. You got that right.
great.
Almond,
Oh,
grape juice, dark chocolate,
oh,
bananas,
oh,
blueberry, right there, fish, water, and whole grains. So that was 10 different things, right? And we have someone who commented avocado. I'm sure it's great, but I just had to narrow it down to like kind of the top 10. Okay.
mm.
So that was my list.
There were some surprises on there for me. Grape
Yeah.
juice.
Yeah. Ooh, grape juice.
Does that apply to wine?
Yes, that is the question. It is. Why? Because there's some things like polyphenol in the grape, and it can be currant as well, not just grape, but kind of some of those categories.
Mhm.
And they did a research, and I'll just summarize the research really quickly. It's for elderlies who kind of was at the brink of memory loss. So for 2 years, they give a placebo to a certain group and real grape juice to the other group. Placebo. The other, the placebo looked like grape juice, tasted like grape juice, but was not real grape juice. And I mean, there's a chart but it's literally like that. The group that continuously for 2 years drank grape juice, their memory improved actually, versus the other group that completely declined.
Wow.
So there are a lot of research things like that, and blueberries as well. So
Can I clarify on that? So, like, even
yeah,
if you just had a little grape juice with breakfast, is that what we're saying? That there's something like, like an 8 ounce or less of grape juice could be beneficial in the long run to maintaining our marbles?
that's
I
what
need to
they
do
said.
that.
That's what it is. So in my fridge, I always have grape juice, not apple juice, grape juice specifically.
That's awesome.
For children, if you have children, if you can buy grape juice instead of like orange juice,
Mhm. Thank
that's
you. I'm
awesome.
gonna get
Yeah,
some grape juice.
yeah,
I'm definitely
yeah.
gonna hop on that.
Because
So,
it's so easy.
right? It definitely is, and that's probably something that's still on the shelves. I mean, when we go in, right now, there's some areas there's some areas that are picked over, but I noticed the juice is still there.
Mhm, mhm,
That's awesome. Now, did you say
mhm.
we're gonna memorize that list?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Let's
instead of
do it.
just, right now, because sometimes we're like, was there peanut in there? Like, it's a little hard to recall them, right? Or if I give you something, you're like, yes, maybe, I don't know. So we're going to be sure about this when we leave this room
Okay.
so that you can all be healthy for your brain. So it's called the body system.
Mm,
So we're going to use our own body to store items. Same concept as the memory palace and the stations. This is just a quick system right here.
love, love, love.
So think about 10 places in your body that can be landmarks. So one of them is the head, you got the eyes, you got nose, you got lips, you can have your neck, you can have, so there are a number of things. Your belly button, you
Shoulder.
can make more stations, yeah, shoulders. So let's try to memorize this using the body system. And this is the same concept, but again,
Okay.
with speakers, we go more in depth about the why and, really meticulously put those. But this is really the system. So
This is so
spinach in the
fun.
beginning, yeah. green leafy vegetables, kale and spinach. What are you gonna do with those? So you can imagine having a crown. Yeah, your hair is green, maybe. Kind of reminds you of green leafy vegetables. You dyed them green. You're wearing a crown. So, and the weirder the better. Okay, don't try to make it polished or like something that makes sense. Do not make sense. That's actually better than trying to make sense. Okay, so we got green leafy vegetables over here. Maybe I dyed my hair green, like what's that? Billie Eilish. You know Billie Eilish? Yeah. Right. I think she dyes her hair green. Okay. Now we got almonds. So I'm going to use my eyes because I say they look like almonds. They don't look like peanuts. Okay, they look like almonds. Literally,
awesome.
right? And then nose. I'm going to imagine it's grape juice. The next one is grape juice. What I'm going to think?
Banana.
I can have a nosebleed kind of but with grape juice.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's the weirder the better. It doesn't have to be like, okay, you don't have to repeat it to anybody, but if you can imagine this once, you don't have to do it ever in your life again. And then I think about my lips. So I have dark chocolate on my next item. So instead of just trying to eat dark chocolate, you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to imagine putting dark chocolate around my lips so I can lick it later. Or dark chocolate colored lipstick, which is very, very dark. Right? I think we understand here, right? Banana. What can you do with banana? I mean, so many things. You can put it on your ears. You can smear them on your shoulders. You don't have to just, right? You can go pick them up.
Fingers.
So, imagine bananas. Okay. And then you had blueberries. So with blueberries, there are many things you can do, but I can imagine I'm so bored now, at home, right? So I'm going to start putting blueberries and making a necklace out of it. I'm just going to, tie them together, and that's going to be my snack. So that's one way to remember blueberries. And after that, think about that. We have a fish. A fish is on the list. So instead of thinking fish, eating fish, what I'm going to think is like my belly, and think about my belly button. I'm going to think about a fish coming out of my belly button.
A pond.
Yeah, it comes out like, right. And let's think about the next item is water. So maybe we can use the fish, actually. You can think about the fish jumping into the water from your belly button.
Yeah.
And then lastly, there's whole grain. Whole grain. I'm trying to eat oatmeal every day. That's my thing with blueberries in the morning and banana. So, I do this combo every morning. And in the evening, I have a little bit of grape juice. But anyhow, we have whole grains at the end. So think about whole grains. What could that mean to you that's not just usual that you forget? Something that's unusual.
Could be like freckles or...
Yeah, it could be freckles. You have tons of freckles on your legs if you want.
Grains.
Right. Maybe you're wearing shoes, but there's like grains inside, like sand. It like feels really uncomfortable when you walk with sand in your feet with your shoes.
Okay.
So, anything that makes sense, well, actually shouldn't really make sense, but it's personal, right? My experience is not the same, but if we recall it together, we can do it together. Let's see if we remember it better.
I'm going to have a strange dream tonight, I have a feeling.
It's good. It's good.
Put it out of the belly button.
Yeah, we're gonna have a glass of wine before that, right?
I'm ready.
Yeah. So in the beginning, what did we have? We had the hair, so that helps you think about what?
Green leafy vegetables.
Right. And then the eyes give you
almonds.
Almonds, right? And come out of your nose.
Grape juice.
Grape juice. And I put some
dark chocolate.
Yes. Okay. So on my shoulder, I have
bananas. I put
banana.
Banana.
Yeah. And then I make a necklace out of
blueberries.
Blueberries, right? And out of my belly button come
fish out of
fish.
the water.
Yes, going to the water. And then lastly, we have some legs that are full of freckles, which are the whole grains right there.
That's awesome.
You memorize it. And you're going to remember it for the rest of your life. If, you're just repeat it once in the shower, tomorrow when you wake up. We still need to use repetition to a certain degree, but because we use the system, the repetition is so quick.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It was fun. It was really visual, and you're
Mhm.
right. You could remember that.
Mhm.
Especially like you say, if you repeat it a couple times. Thank you. That was really super powerful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you can already put your speech in your body,
Yeah.
but that's a little bit of a short list. You can put your own grocery list in your body now.
And certainly your stories that you tell could be like I tell a story as a child, um, remembered some things that led to where I am now as an adult. So I could picture my mom on the patio. I could picture the smell of the breakfast at the stove. Yeah, that's really very powerful. Thank you for sharing that. And
Yes, and smell is smell, they say, is even more powerful than visual. So sometimes, that's why fragrance is really worse. When you smell that, all the memory of back in like what 30 years ago triggers all together. So
mm,
use that as well.
absolutely. So,
Mhm,
so the foods we eat can make a big difference on how we maintain
mhm,
our brain function going on later. So, is there maybe one more quick tip you could share
mhm,
around memorization? We've talked
mhm,
about the memory palace. Is there something more
mhm,
there you'd like to share, or anything
mhm.
else before we go?
Yeah. So, and I just want to tell you all that actually, one of the hurdles is that we live in this world of information overload. There's just so much coming at us that we are so overwhelmed. So, memorizing one more thing, even if it's your speech, kind of feels like a whole burden, a whole new burden. So, it also in a workshop and in a Jumpstart, we're going to talk about how, we have to work around that though. Because I'm not someone who's going to say, hey, toss your phone, like take a detox. And we have to work with what we have right now. But,
Mhm.
our brain is so capable that, having all this information, also trying to memorize your speech are not in conflict actually.
Hmm.
Our database, they call it the subconscious. So everything actually you do right now, what I'm wearing, how I sound, what you have behind you, all of that is in our memory. It's on the big database that's called the subconscious. And when you are dreaming, you are pulling things out of that.
Hmm. That's true.
So you can actually have all of that, but it just takes a little bit of practice because, we lost it since we're age 4. They put us at school and they say good luck. So we have to regain that power, but that's totally possible. And I've seen, I mean, it's the progress is so fast actually. That what brings me so much joy. I don't have to watch our speakers or anybody, our students, for a whole year or two. It's really immediate. So, and I
Mhm.
just want to encourage everybody to know that you have it in you, actually.
That's awesome. I am so excited that you're offering a workshop on this
Mhm,
because I can see where speakers would really benefit by spending more time than we're able to spend today, but to really like drill down on those techniques and
mhm,
practice them and apply them to their own presentations. I have
mhm.
one more question for you before we
Yeah.
go. And I'm so curious about you becoming a memory champion. I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure I saw something on Facebook around this that had, I remember you like memorizing cards or
Yeah.
something, right? Can how do you do that so quickly? Because 'Cause I'm thinking
Mhm,
it's not like
mhm,
the sea and the restaurant and the balcony and the bed, is it? It's how do
mhm.
you do that so quickly?
Actually, all memory champions of the world use the same technique, which is exactly what I described for memorizing your speech as well. So it's that powerful. But I have I live with decks of cards, right? Because that's kind of every memory champion's basics to be
Yeah.
able to memorize decks of cards. So I know what it is first of all, I have a palace, a very powerful palace that's like immediate. That's half a split of a second. And then I do cards, but each card, what is this right now? So Queen of
Cards.
Diamonds, right? Doesn't mean anything to me, right? So,
Yeah.
but anyhow, the next one is Nine of, yeah,
Diamond.
Diamond. What is that? So anyhow, you have to memorize, deck after deck of this. There's only one way you can memorize it, by association. So it's using everything that we did today already, but to the next level. So it takes a lot of practice. I practice about an hour every single day. I travel with those. If you see me on an airplane, this is usually what I do as well. So let me quickly show you. So let's say let me take the same memory palace that I talked about, the hotel in Cancun. That could be one palace, although I use other palace like my workspace, my apartment building, something that I'm very familiar with. So actually at the end, Memory Champions have hundreds of memory palaces. So they're like ready to store. So anyhow, this thing, I need to associate it. It needs to become personal. This thing turns into Oprah.
Okay.
Like Oprah.
Okay.
This thing is the action of peeing.
Oh.
I know it's weird. So instead
Where are we
of
going, Claire?
I know. I told you, it gotta be weird, okay? If you're saying, like sleeping, it's not enough for the brain. So we gotta still find powerful things. So, anyways, together that makes Oprah peeing.
Okay.
Right? I
Yeah.
mean, you know that, right?
Yeah.
And then we can look at other cards. So let me do this, for example. So the next card, let's say, is 7 of
Spades. What is that? Clubs.
Yeah.
I'm not a card player.
Vanessa, you're not going to the casino.
I don't. It's a shovel. My cards have cats on them, literally.
Oh my God. That's so funny. Okay. So we have this for those, for all of you who are watching and who are going to, you don't have to go to casino. You can play poker at home. I'm not advertising. But by the way, guys, if you know how to, I go to a casino really rarely just because there's a conference or something. So I don't actually really know how to play those games. But I think because I memorized those, I think I could. So anyways, if someone wants to teach me the casino games, I think we can be a great team.
You can make
Anyhow,
girl.
I know. We're taking investment. Anyways, this thing. So that's Kim Kardashian.
Okay.
And then this one, so it's 6. This is a club. 6 of club is, so it's my friend Joanne. But anyway, so her action is juggling balls.
Okay. And is it always the same? Like when you see those cards, is it always the same? Okay.
So what it is you have to, just like a speech, you have to pre-memorize certain things. And then when the day of the competition comes, they shuffle it, and you just have to go through them as fast as you can, like that. Basically, it goes like that. And you memorize it. You store them as fast as you go into those memory paths. So, concept again is the same. It's just how we can modify that according to our scenario. So, when you have a 10-minute speech, that looks a little different than what you have a 3-hour speech as well, for example.
That's super fascinating.
Yeah. So, I could talk about it forever, but I think, this was fun for everybody to look at how actually I memorize cards and how actually we can memorize our speech.
It really was fun and super impressive. I mean, for someone who just would struggle, like playing the game with the cards, much less memorizing them. I think that was pretty awesome. Thank you for sharing that. We learned a lot, and so fun to do our exercise where we learned about the kale and almond eyes and everything. We've got some great comments here. It looks like others have really enjoyed this. Now, before we go, is there, and I'm literally melting. It's so warm in Phoenix right now. Sorry. I had to close my window because it was getting too loud.
I envy you though.
It's like 80 degrees here today. I need to turn the air on, so I'm going to fan myself probably. But before we go, is there anything we didn't chat about that would be important for speakers to know that could help them now while they're at home, that we could just real quickly give a wrap up on this?
Okay. So I think what I would love the speakers to start thinking about is kind of understanding that when you write your speech already, I want to see chunks. Because we're going to compress those chunks. So, like when we do an essay, we have the intro on the body, but then we have subsection. So it's important when I write it, I always write it with sections. So it's clear what it is instead of just a whole speech. So it's in a way also being organized as a speaker anyhow, being able to spread the message more effectively. But that really helps when we meet or when we do a workshop or when you alone trying to just compress it and using the memory techniques as well. So, write in like, I would say paragraph chunks, whatever you can find.
Yeah, it's kind of like books on a bookshelf, right? So it's like the
Mhm.
like
Yeah,
individual. Yeah. And then
Mhm.
that helps you associate that chunk with the balcony, with the
Yeah,
story.
Mhm.
Oh, that's awesome.
Mhm.
I can't wait to share more in January. And certainly,
Mhm.
y'all don't have to wait until January. If someone wanted to reach out to you now, Claire, to learn more about your workshop, how would
Mhm.
they do that? What's the best way to reach you?
So, I have a website. It's literally my name, Claire, Claire, last name Jeong, Jeong. I know it's spelled it's a little difficult, but I think we can probably also find it with Vanessa as well. But again, Claire Jeong, last name Jeong. And in case you know Ken Jeong, the comedian, we're not related, but we have the same last name. So that's how you would
It's
spell
kind of
it.
like Smith or something, right?
Yeah,
A lot of people
it
know
is.
it.
In Korea, it is like the Smith and the, yeah.
Yeah.
So the Johnson.
And that's
So
a .com, right?
yes,
ClaireJong.com.
you're
Okay,
correct.
awesome. So we can learn more there. And so
Mhm.
your email is Claire at Claire Jeong?
Yes.
Okay,
So
Claire. Claire. Okay.
yes, or you can also find me at Claire J. So Claire J at studentrdh.com. So all those email and my phone number is also at clairejong.com. If you go to my website, you can say let's connect, and you'll have my email there and my phone number as well.
Awesome. So I know
Hmm.
that you have another course. I think is your Wake Up Memory. Is that the one that's like 20 hours? It's like a really comprehensive. So you've got multiple options that would be beneficial to speakers. And so be sure you go check that out with Claire. Reach out to her to find out more. Um, my favorite thing to say right now, because I really believe it is, there really has never been a better time to fill in the blank. And so I'm going to fill in the blank here with work on your presentation skills, work on your memorization techniques. Take this time now while we're in this little bit of a limbo land until we, get past our peak with COVID and we're ready to get back to the offices and back to in-person meetings and all that. It's a great time to be working on your materials. So that's why we especially wanted to cover this now, bring you guys this information, encourage you that all will be well. We're going to get through this together.
Yeah.
But we'll be seeing you guys in person on the backside. But until then, we definitely are going to stay connected virtually. And be sure that you reach out to Claire to find out more information. And welcome to the faculty. We're super excited to have you with our Dental Speaker Institute faculty and part of our fellowship curriculum. So there'll be more information on that online this fall. There's never been a better time to finish your curriculum, Vanessa. We'll finish
You're right. There's okay, so we're doing filling the blanks. And thank you, Vanessa, for putting I was at Jumpstart last year. It was just 100%. You rarely go to a conference thinking it was awesome.
Thank you.
It was your family, people, food, the content, the location is great as well. That was a great hotel. So I mean, I everybody, I think if you are a speaker, want to be a speaker as well. There were a lot of people who were getting ready as well, right? I think it's so valuable. The network, you go there and you network people who have experience, who are recruiters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
It's really a meetings professionals gathering, and we did have, I'd say, more of a handful to a small number of people that were newer to
mm,
speaking. It's not jumpstart like to learn how to be a speaker. That's
mm,
not the point of this meeting. It's really jumpstart your year, jumpstart your business,
mhm,
though it's definitely a good place for people at all levels of their speaking.
mhm. Yeah.
This coming year, we're going to do something a little different. On our pre-conference afternoon of January 6th, I'll be doing a full afternoon on, it's my presentation that I give on the circuit called So You Think You Want to Speak in Dentistry, and that is geared to the newer speaker.
Mhm,
will be for the newbies, for the newer people who are wanting to know, like, what do I need to do next?
Mhm.
And in the other room, Patricia Fripp is going to be one of our keynoters. She's going to be breaking down information about how to pull your speeches together. And Mark LeBlanc will also do a session that helps us know about how to price our presentations, how to really work with our honorarium and work with speakers to be able to get the value of the speech, to be able to earn more with your honorarium. So, and that's just
even better.
It's going to be a whole lot of good stuff. So, well, we need to let everyone run. Thank you again, Claire, for being here. Everyone, take good care of you. Stay home, wash your hands.
Stay hydrated and in good spirit. Try to just see the light.
Yeah.
And
Keep
as a
looking
speaker,
for what you're grateful for. Fear and gratitude can't exist in the same space, and there's so much to be grateful for. Be well, take good care of your families. Claire, thanks again for being here. And until next time, everyone.
Thank you, Vanessa. Jumpstart, everybody's working there and everybody's watching. Have a great day.
Take care, y'all. Bye-bye.